2 years ago, my husband and I were renovating our house. I didn't want my wedding dress to get damaged or lost in the process. Considering we did lose a few things during the renovation, I was right to be concerned. My friend offered to keep it in her closet until the renovations were done. After we finished the renovations, I asked my friend for the dress back. She kept saying she'd get back to me. I kept asking, and she'd make up excuses. I found it weird. Now my sister's getting married and she wants to wear the dress. This was our mother's dress, and we always agreed we would each wear it. I told my friends I needed it back. She claimed she couldn't find it. I was perplexed because how does it just get up and walk away? She apologized and offered to pay me the cost of the dress, which I turned down because it wasn't about the money. The dress was sentimental, and I felt terrible my sister couldn't wear it. My friend and her husband went away. I was there to water their plants and feed their dogs. I decided to look for it myself. The closet was very cluttered. I eventually found the dress. I can totally believe that she missed where it was, and she wasn't malicious. The box was tucked behind a few larger ones containing seasonal clothes. I texted her, saying, "I found the dress." Instead of being happy for me, she asked why I rummaged through her closet, and I said I just wanted to double check. She told me I had no right to go through her things. I said that because of her clutter, my sister almost didn't get to wear the dress she always dreamed of. My friend told me I could have asked her to look again, but I pointed out it took 2 years for her to even look in the first place. Am I the idiot for going through my friend's closet to find my wedding dress? I would have just taken it and never told her. Let her think she lost her mind. She knew exactly where it was. She didn't want to return it to you for some reason. Good for you for finding it. You are not the idiot. Instead of being happy for me, she asked why I rummaged through her closet. LOL, so interesting that she knew exactly where you rummaged to find this lost dress. OP, I mean this in the nicest way, but you're being naive. She was trying to keep your dress. Simple as that. If all you had to do was go through that closet in her house, it wasn't lost or misplaced. It was exactly where she put it, and she knew that. This person isn't your friend. For real, it doesn't matter how big or cluttered the closet was. If I had something that belonged to my friend and was sentimental to their family, I would tear the closet apart to make it right. That's my responsibility for having my friend's valuable item among my messy crap. And I certainly wouldn't be asking that friend for favors, like watching my house, when I still owe her big time. Yep, I have ripped through 3 closets and a laundry room to find a pair of jeans. An irreplaceable wedding dress? You bet I would have found it. OP, you did lose a few things during the renovation. Was your friend overdoing the renovations? You might need a second chance to rummage at her home before she returns. You are the idiot. How many drawers, closets, and storage areas did you rummage through before checking the closet? I would have done it too to get my dress back, but it's an invasion of privacy, and I wouldn't expect someone to be happy that I went through their private things and, for all they know, pawed through their underwear. She was irresponsible, but that doesn't justify you going through her things. Long story short, regardless of whether you are the idiot or not, you're now known as the woman who roots through other people's belongings when they trust you. Months ago, my son found out that he has a preteen child. I was very suspicious because my son is very rich. And where was this kid until now? The ex-girlfriend is broke, and why didn't she say anything before? And the girl looks nothing like my son. Am I supposed to believe the ex had the child right when she needs money? So I asked my son to get a paternity test, just to be sure. All my kids, except for one, believed I was the bad guy, just because I was looking out for my son. My son, who loves kids, didn't want to do it and was happy to have a child. After weeks of trying to convince him to get a test, he finally agreed, and it turned out that he is in fact her dad. I was very happy for him and thought all is well since there's no harm in taking the test, and he finally knows for sure that he's the father. But ever since that test, he won't talk to me, claiming I traumatized my granddaughter by forcing her to go through that. He thinks I'm an idiot. Only one of my kids is on my side and thinks I did the right thing. Edit. He thinks it was traumatizing because I said it in front of his child and made her feel unwanted. He thinks I should have talked to him privately, and while I agree that I could have done better, I think it's ridiculous that he's holding a grudge over this. I know I could have handled it differently, but I don't feel it traumatized her. She's old enough to understand that. Good gracious, Mom. Did you forget your whole, "I will never accept her in my family if you don't take the test" speech that you said right in front of my child? He's not going to forgive you just because you were happy for him when the test came. A child isn't an object you can be cruel to and then expect all to be well afterwards. You are the idiot. Yeah, OP is the idiot. She told that in front of the child? This isn't exactly something a 10-year-old is just going to forget, no matter how warm and inviting Grammy is from here out. I think any kid would have trouble not seeing that as artificial and fake, given how they were previously treated. The son's daughter will always perceive any positive behavior from OP as a mask she wears from here out. I disagree. OP's not the idiot. He was blinded by his desire to have a child. You made sure he did the right thing and protected himself. He might be mad now, but it would have been way worse if he found out the kid is not his years from now. Your job as a parent is not always to be your child's friend. Sometimes you need to make them mad at you in order to protect them from themselves. You did good. Dude, OP's son isn't mad that she advised him to get a paternity test. He's mad that she demanded it loudly and explicitly in front of his child. She told them, "The girl looks nothing like my son." Gross. Whether the child is your granddaughter or not, you should be the one who pays her therapy bill for life. After all, you're the reason she'll need it. I, 29 male, hosted a pumpkin carving party for my friends and me this past weekend, and my decision is causing drama among us. The party was indoors, as it's still nearly 100 during the day where I'm at. I dislike cats and dogs, any and all. My friends know this. Primarily, I think they're filthy. I want nothing to do with them because of that. A buddy and his current fling, early relationship girlfriend, however you want to define it, showed up. She has a golden retriever with her. I didn't know this dog was coming. No one ran this by me. I would have said no. I pulled him aside and told him the dog had to go. He says if the dog has to go, she has to go, and then I have to go too. I just say, come on, man. You should know better than to bring a dog to my house. He said it was just a service animal, apparently for diabetes. He thought it would be different. I said no. It might medically help her, but it's still a darn animal. He starts arguing, but I maintain my stance. I offered to keep it in the garage with the AC on. He goes and talks to his girl and she looks annoyed. I felt bad about that. They opt to leave. He lets me know I'm an idiot. My friends were all split on how I handled it. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. I'm a service dog handler, and everyone handled the situation poorly. You are not in the wrong for not wanting a dog in your private dwelling. It's your right not to allow even a service dog in your private home. They should have asked you ahead of time about the dog, and you should have treated them with more empathy when telling them they had to leave, and also be more understanding that making a decision that's hurtful to others will have consequences. Hard disagree. How did OP put them in a crappy situation? The friend knew OP's opinion on animals and brought one anyway without a heads up. Normally, I don't understand how people can dislike animals, but it's their house, I guess. I truly don't understand. How do you expect accommodation from someone without even a conversation first? It's basically the same as asking someone in a wheelchair to leave it outside while they can come in. A service dog is similar to a piece of medical equipment. That's why it's still offensive. The dog is with her to detect blood sugar spikes. It can't do that if it's in the garage. OP was okay with endangering the dog and his friend's girlfriend. He's certainly within his rights to not allow the dog, but his friend is within his rights to move OP to his list of ex-friends. Not the idiot. The dog should have been discussed beforehand. Your house is not a public place, and you aren't legally required to allow her to bring her dog. My issue with their assuming the dog would be welcome in your home is that they completely disregarded you or any other potential host. What happens if they show up to someone's house who's extremely allergic or debilitatingly afraid of dogs? What if they bring the dog into someone's home and the host's own animals become stressed or even flee out of fear of the girlfriend's dog? I feel sorry for you and the girlfriend in this situation because your friend should have talked to you first, but instead created an uncomfortable situation for everybody. Context. We're from the UK. I am struggling to see why we're idiots, as deemed by my parents and sister. My husband, 42, and I, 40 female, have 2 daughters, Jane, 22, and Lisa, kindergartner. This concerns Jane, who's been struggling with the cold. Jane started complaining about the house's temperature now that it's no longer summertime. We leave the central heating off all the time, apart from in the early morning, 5 to 7 a.m., so Lisa doesn't get too cold when she's awake. My husband and I don't have an issue with the temperature of the house. It's approximately 16 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Fahrenheit at night across all of the bedrooms, since we checked in case her room was draftier. We don't feel it and do not see where Jane is coming from. Jane complains and says she wears multiple layers to bed and around the house while we're all asleep. So she asked if she could have access to the thermostat to switch the heating on at a higher temperature than 18C 64F, what we set it at. She wants to raise it to 21C 69F, but we said no. She keeps complaining about wearing 4 layers to bed so she doesn't feel cold in the morning. Lisa said it wasn't cold when we asked her. My husband and I also don't feel the cold, so we said no to her asking and thought that would end it. It did not. We had dinner at my parents' house, in which Jane commented about how warm and toasty her grandparents' house was. My parents were shocked that we didn't allow her access to the thermostat, and they tried to sway us into giving her access because it wasn't right for her to sleep in multiple layers. My sister also agreed with them and said my daughter has valid points since the temperature starts dropping at night. Are we wrong here? I don't see the point in changing the temperature the time the central heating is on when 3 out of the 4 of us are happy with the current temperature. You are the idiot. Get the girl a personal space heater for her room, or a heated blanket or a heating pad. She's not making it up that she's cold. Who are you to tell someone that they're not cold or not hot? I understand not giving her control of the thermostat, but not making any accommodations for her so she isn't cold is where you're the idiot. Also, 16 degrees Celsius is freaking cold. Agreed. 16C, 60F, or even 18C, 64F is too cold for most folks. Just because you're fine doesn't mean it's reasonable to expect her to be miserably freezing. I can see you not being interested in keeping the heat on consistently either, so that's also miserable for her. Why do you think she should suffer so you can save a few dollars on the power bill? Also, heating blankets, space heaters, etc. actually use more electricity than just keeping your house at a comfortable and consistent temperature. Expecting her to have 4+ layers to be moderately warm is unreasonable. Dude, why do you favor your youngest over your eldest? A kindergartner's not trustworthy when it comes to temperature. When my brother was that age, he had to be reminded to wear more than a shirt when it was snowing outside. Jane may also have low thyroid hormone, which can cause cold intolerance. You suck, and I would hate to be your daughter. How many other ways in life have you neglected her? My brother Jake has been with his wife, Kate, now separated, since high school. They have 2 kids, both my godkids, and he and I are best friends. Our sister Claire has been friends with Kate since middle school. They were each other's maids of honor and are still very close. In the last 6 months, Jake confided in me that he fell for his coworker and let things slip into a physical affair. I encouraged him to tell Kate and be honest about it so as not to live a lie. He told her, and she was initially in denial and wanted to work through things, but Jake said he'd be lying to himself, and they're in the midst of divorce proceedings. He and the coworker are now in a relationship. When I met her, I'll admit it was weird seeing him with someone else, but they weirdly seemed like the most compatible couple I've ever met. They've way more in common than he ever did with Kate. They look at each other with such admiration, and despite how it started, I honestly think they could be together forever. I know I could be wrong there, but that's my hunch. So Jake and I are still really tight. We recently took our kids to a festival together this weekend, just me and my kids and him and his, no partners. We had a great time, and he was telling me how happy he's been, and the kids seem to be adjusting to it much better than expected. I know it's all a process, but I'm glad he's doing well, and I'm glad to have him in my life. Well, my sister Claire is angry that I'm still hanging out with Jake. She's saying how she can't believe that I dare to approve of him being with the mistress, and that I should be trying to convince him to try to work things out with Kate, who is apparently still hoping for that, or I should be no contact with him until he realizes how wrong he is and makes things up to her. Am I the idiot for staying tight with him, helping him financially until the divorce and child support situation is figured out, and supporting this new relationship that seems to make him happy? I feel bad for Kate and all, but I just feel like they're a case of people who got married too young, and now he's found someone who's a better fit for him. Edit. Regarding the child support, Kate makes about double him, and her job involves a ton of travel to where she's gone about 75% of the time. He's been the primary caretaker of the kids most of their lives. She doesn't want a new job post-divorce, so he'll continue to have primary custody. Of course, that means the other parent who makes more will pay child support. It's for the kids. He's not pursuing alimony for himself. Your brother was selfish and blew up his family in the worst way possible. That's going to have repercussions and fractures. You don't need to punish him, but it is kind of gross he's riding off into the sunset with his new side chick while his ex is deeply mourning. Don't condone it, but it's not your job to punish him. I'm going with not the idiot, but with some strong ick. The gross thing is trying to manipulate the brother into a loveless marriage. Their endgame isn't just to get him to break up with the mistress, but to take back his ex-wife. Why? Because it's convenient for her? He doesn't love her, and familial shaming won't fix that. He's not an idiot for leaving. He's just an idiot for not having the courage to do it sooner. And why on earth should OP take the ex's side? It's his brother. Of course he'll still have contact with him. People don't take marriage seriously anymore. Instead of working through things, for better or worse, he decides to cheat with another woman and then says how hard it's going to be going through a divorce. OP, your brother should never have married. He can't hold up to his vows, has no idea what marriage means, and is selfish. He leaves a trail of destruction behind him as he happily messes around with the woman he crushed his marriage over. I hope he doesn't try crawling back to his ex-wife when his new relationship falls apart. I hope he knows he completely obliterated any chance of reconciliation, and when he looks back, I hope realizing the pain he caused is enough for him to step up and be a worthy man. I'm hoping his soon-to-be ex-wife gets her happily ever after. She deserves it, and I'm sure his relationship with the affair partner will come tumbling down at some point.